Hello and welcome to Extra Hours, part of the Office Hours Global network. Find out more, officehours.global. It's kind of an interesting one for us tonight because Alex is going on hiatus from Office Hours, and so this is my last chance to have to really grill him on some questions. So please jump into Mukana. If you're a regular, you understand what that means. Jump in there and you can put some questions in there as well as chat along, and we'll keep an eye on that. And so, as we've said before, Alex is on. He takes up a couple of panelists on Extra Hours, and then Chris Fenwick takes up another couple more. So essentially, with the three of us, we've got a panel of about 5 or 6. So we should be fine.
Maybe more.
So Chris Fenwick, welcome. Nice to have you back again. Is it going to hold in tonight?
I will say so far. Last week it did not, as you know. Wait, my face went away. Oh no, there we go. Okay.
It needs to stay there the whole time.
Yeah. It's better. Yeah. Last week I was only on for part of the show, and I was having trouble with my internet provider, and it seems to be
sharing the attention as well. That was
exactly
a problem too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That was a problem.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. And Alex Lindsay, how was this last week? The week of lasts? Is that what's happening now?
There's a certain level of completeness of just like you're finishing things up, but there's also this, oh my gosh, we're going to get all these things done before the end of the year, before the end of the week. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I've noticed, Alex, you've been really, really active on the Twitter, sharing a lot of opinions. What's that all about?
It's my last week.
You've been super opinionated. It's been funny.
I was having fun with it. It's all the things that I'm still trying to stay within the realm of being appropriate. Like I'm not as opinionated as I can be.
Me.
Yeah, but I have been a little bit more like I'm not going to get to do this for a long time. So there is a little bit of a, sure, I'll say a couple things here. I got a couple opinions. So I've been a little bit more outspoken than I normally am. I'm a little out of my lane in a couple places.
Have you considered like creating like an avatar and a fake persona? Like you could be like MKB 4K or something like that.
I've thought about it, but I just think I'll get myself into too much trouble, because I'll say if I'm hidden behind anonymity, I'm afraid that I'll have a lot more opinions. And then eventually someone will connect me to the opinions, and then I'll be looking for a new job.
That'll be me. I'll be the one that connects the dots.
Someone will figure it out. They'll be like, he uses too many ellipses. I know it's Alex. So
look at the sentence structure. That's Lindsay. I know it.
Exactly. So I've decided, no, I just have to have fun this week. Don't do anything too crazy. And then know that you're probably not going to tweet a lot after that.
It's going to be different.
MKB 3D would be a good handle.
You know what? I think I'm going to create that handle.
There you go.
And I'm gonna spend the money on it. I'm going to use your face. Sorry. And I'm going to call it MKD element, whatever, 3D.
Elemental P.
All
right. So, Alex, I'm interested in one of the things that I was thinking of when you first said about taking a break from office hours because of the new position, was we've done it a few times in anniversaries and things, but I wonder what you think have been the key successes of office hours, and because you hate looking back, how that sets us up, and how the things that are non-negotiables of office hours and the things that we use to continue going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that some of the stuff that's worked is, we took on pretty early, and this is the office hours, like the 4th time I've tried something online to build a community. So it's, there's some things that we learned on the way. So a couple things that I learned is don't talk about religion and politics. It's not that I'm not interested in religion. If you hang out with me long enough, you'll realize I'm really interested in both. But but as a result, I've learned that most people can't have a conversation about either one of those in a what I would consider a rational perspective,
grown up way.
I didn't want to say it that way, but anyway, but people get really
decisive or divisive is what I mean. Yeah.
I think the problem is that people have a feeling that they need to change people's minds, and I don't. Like I have it like I'm just going to have a conversation with you. I'm not trying to change your mind, and I'm not trying to prove anything. I don't need you to change the way you feel, and I'm fine with you being that way. Like I have lots of friends that are very conservative. I have lots of friends that are very liberal. I have lots of friends in the middle, and I don't have any problem with it. And I love having conversations with all of them because it tests my ideas and my thoughts and some, because and so I don't really I enjoy I have to admit, I grew up in a cauldron of debate, so people are, no one let you sit with anything. But we were all family when you walked away and it didn't matter. And so I think inside of that environment, I'm very comfortable just hashing out ideas. It's a thought process, but most people don't do that well anymore, or maybe ever, I don't know. So I learned with office hours not to do that. With any when we entered office hours, we were like, let's not do that. No swear
And
words.
do you think that's worked?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Me too.
especially when you think about going through, it's interesting. We have a lot of people who work, what they call the Sunday, their Sunday show, or they, do something on Saturday or Sunday or Friday, depending on the religion that they're in. There's a lot of people that do the tech. And so they'll discuss the tech of a house of worship, but they just don't discuss the subject of it. And that's right along that line, but it's a totally fine thing to do. And it's something that's worked out well. I think it's funny. There was one point somewhere in office hours where I felt like we had really nailed it, where we had someone from a Christian house of worship taking advice from someone with a Buddhist house of worship and a Jewish house of worship. They're all sitting there trading notes over what cameras and the three, how they were putting things together. And I was like, okay, this is something that's cool, and so I think that, because I think that the issue is that you don't want, those things are really, really easy ways for you to see how you're different from other people. And a lot of what office hours was about was finding all the things that were the same, like where we all overlap, and not really picking at those other things. And so the other things that, I mean, in general, we had a no swearing policy, which, again, people who know me know that off the air, I'm probably not quite as clean as I am on the air. So and so but that exercise, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I always want to know if my kids were listening to the show, I wouldn't be embarrassed. Like that was really the, where that I wouldn't want to go, oh, don't listen to that. I mean, I hate that kind of, like, for instance, with my phone, my phone doesn't have anything except for Carrot. My phone doesn't have anything that would embarrass me, on it, like ever. Like, and it's just, so I can open up my phone. It's unusual. I can open my phone. Hey, take a look at all these things. And I can show people things. I don't worry about some photo popping up or, what I'm listening to or whatever, except for Carrot. And that did embarrass me once recently. Carrot, if you turn the snarkiness of Carrot all the way up, it says a lot of inappropriate things. And so anyway, which I didn't realize how inappropriate until I showed it to somebody. So anyway, first time I ever showed it to somebody, like, this is really funny. And I slicked through a couple of them, and I got to the third one and I was like, okay, and we're not going to do that anymore. So anyway, so I think those things have worked. I think that obviously, we have changed the number of shows we do every week. We're still doing one every day, but we've changed the number that we do every morning. And I think that was, so far, I think it's gone well as far as concentrating more panelists on the days that we are available. But I also think that it was great that we did so many for so long. We evolved, especially in the first 3 or 4 years, at a crazy pace because we were doing it every single day. And I think that created an iteration rate that was pretty interesting. So anyway, so I think that was that was important. I think that overall, just generally being appropriate, not putting up with a lot of, too rough of an arguing. We need some more arguing sessions in the early days, but not very much in the later days of just finding, like, hey, let's, we don't need to hash everything out all the time. And then I think that, I think the things that have worked is a lot of the folks that are panelists and hosts have gotten really good at doing it, have improved, certain, turns out, practice. Their kits have gotten really good. Their ability to say things in a relatively efficient way has gotten much better. And so I think that those things, you know, the goal has always been that you know, that people who are watching, if they wanted to do a discussion show, the goal is that we're the high watermark of that. Like, this is as clean as you're going to make it, you know, and how do we handle a large panel? And the reason the large panel is important, and the reason we're kind of focusing on that right now, is because the large panel takes a lot of pressure. It means that you get better questions with less pressure on each person, you know, and so that you can get lots of different questions, because what we do, our show, is one of the hardest shows that I've worked on, because you're getting live questions about almost anything in real time, and you have to respond to them. And there's almost no show, if you think about the shows that you watch on TV, number one is there's almost no live shows that you listen to or watch. There's a handful of them. It's very rare. And when they are live, they're generally a very specific vertical. You know, we're media, but we're all kinds of media and technology and, to some degree, philosophy. And I think that's being able to handle that. I think we've built a really good system to do that. So anyway, I think this was some of the things that have worked well. And then, I mean, the biggest thing that's worked well is we've collected an enormous number of great people that are committed to that. That bound them, I think, really became committed to this during COVID. I don't know if you could start what we do over again now. You know, like, everyone's busy. You know, I think it's because we had a lot of time, and I'm hoping that, you know, as I'm not on as many shows, that people keep running with it, because I think if it stops working, it won't come back. Like, I just don't think you could turn it back on again.
Yeah, it was really a perfect storm in early 2020 that allowed it to happen.
Yeah, it totally was, and I'm glad that we're able to still keep it going, and I think people have prioritized it because of that, right? Like, they're really like, we had so much time, and then we saw so much value in it, and so now we're like, well, now we prioritize it and make sure that we can make it work, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
And it was fun. It was fun. You know, Alex, I don't know if you know this, but for the last couple of Mondays, and I think I'm going to do it more, on the mornings when there's not an official show, there's a fair amount of people hopping into after hours, like the old days,
which I think is great.
And we've been having some really fun discussions, you know, and they're very loose. There's no Mukana, there's no raising of hands, and but it's, you know, and the days that I'm there, I try to steer it a little bit, and sometimes it gets it goes a little deep. Mitchell popped on this morning and talked a lot about old radio. I was like, hey, Mitchell, I'm trying to talk to Mukana. I have a question for Osmuk. But yeah, and people have been saying that. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of miss this.
No, it's good. Yeah, and I think I hope that people do take advantage of those times that we're not the mornings and getting together and chatting. I would, except that I'm doing something every morning. Like, right, if I'm not on the show, like right now, I'm going to theaters and doing my last tests for those as well. So,
well, when you get clearance, Alex, we will have to set up a Starlink on your new mobile office, and be a good 90 minutes of morning time. You could
exactly
once you've been given the clearance to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do think I think that after hours, remembering back in the day when we first started, it was really the webinar process was that everyone listened in Zoom anyway before we were on YouTube, and it actually meant that kind of all the community was there, and then there was a few people that raised their hands to become the panelists, and I'd like to sort of find a way to get back a little bit to that where after hours is kind of the base of where things happen, including all of the shows.
Yep.
And so that before and after the shows, all the panelists and all the back end and everyone are kind of in after hours. And so then it's not an us and them kind of situation where they're the ones doing the back end or they're the panelists, but actually it's just everyone, and we've just got different roles. And yes, there always can be people that have a discussion about a very, very specific vertical. But I still prefer that than than after hours being quiet. Like having no one talking. I'd rather someone to be talking than no one.
See, and I'm the opposite. I'd rather have nobody talk than to have something go down a path that I'm not interested in. So because then it's like something else I got to listen to. Like it, and I the hard part I had with after hours and why I couldn't go in as much is because it wasn't because it was bad discussions. It was because there were discussions that I get locked into, and I suddenly felt like I wanted to participate. And I'm like, I got to get work done. And if I leave this open, I can't stop thinking about the things that people were bringing up. So I do, that was my biggest problem with it when it was more popular. So yeah.
Big distraction.
Yeah. So I'm interested, Alex, to walk through some of the verticals, because as we think about like a little bit of what's happened in this area and where do you think it might go, or where would you hope it go? So if we started off in the audio world, which we've actually had some great discussions on Wednesdays, right, where it's like some really good panelists. What are some of those sort of audio highlights for you, and then where do you think it's going?
Well, I think that, again, Wednesdays are the day that we're really spending a lot of time, and people are spending a lot of time talking about audio. We've had some great experts on, and I think that's probably going to continue. And it's a great day to just kind of focus questions. I think that as far as audio goes, I think that there's a lot that's staying the same. The kind of mics that we recommend have gotten pretty basic. Like we're all the same. I'm really interested, obviously, in immersive. So I'm thinking hard about immersive, and the thing that I'm looking to spend a lot more time on is ASAF, which is Apple Spatial Audio Format, and APAC, which is Apple Positional Audio Codec. And those are the two things that I'm excited to. Obviously, in my new role, I'll not be working on that, but I will be adjacent to it. So it'll be something I get to think about a little bit. And so really excited. And I mean, we're seeing a lot. I mean, I almost every time I open Resolve, I almost expect an update. Like I just, they've been updating it to, and a lot of that has to do with immersive video, immersive audio. And so I think that that's going to be, really interesting to see, where all of that goes. I have to admit that I have a hard time just listening to stereo now. I know people are like, "Oh, I love stereo," and I'm so used to things being a lot more detailed that it's hard to go back. So anyway, so as far as audio goes, I think that's the thing that I'm the most interested in.
Do you know what can help you with that, Alex? Is just go back to mono for a while and just keep everything mono. And then when you go to stereo, it's
It'll
like,
sound great.
what? I accidentally did that recently in my studio. I didn't realize for a little while it was all in mono. I was like, it just hasn't quite got the same sound. And then
exactly.
got it set up, got stereo. I was like, wow. But yeah, the full immersive, surround sounds pretty amazing. I'm super interested to see how that goes in Vision Pro. I've already noticed some Vision Pro stuff. I slowly, it's been a while. I caught up on the Red Bull, the snow, that snow little mini documentary. Man, that was cool. It was really cool, and the sound in that, I was even just the sound of them talking was super cool. It was like one person was kind of off camera, and there was two guys up on the hill, and where they placed them positionally, like, was super. Like it really made you feel like that. Often dialogue that's pushed off into the surrounds just feels a little bit gimmicky, but in this use, it really drew you in even more.
Part of trying to get office hours to 5.1, and we've had limited success in getting all of that working, that pipeline with HDR and 5.1. But part of it is thinking about other things we could do with those surrounds that are not just surround, because it's just a talking show. But I really wanted to have, like, I have talkback buttons on my little 205, and I really wanted to have one of those buttons tied, like we figure out a way to tie that to like the left surround. So I can just be like, Chris could be talking, and I'm not taking away from what Chris is saying, but I'd be like, don't listen to Chris. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it would just, you just hear this little, like, or even give Chris the other speakers so that the two of us could sit there. Someone would be talking, and then the two of us are arguing about it behind. It's probably a little too much for people, but I still think that those are
he's talking about.
Yeah, but I think that there is using those things that would be a lot more fun, not just for standard effects, but for a experience.
It would be Grant and I giving commentary on the latest Alex story. Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, it's a good
I love
one.
it.
Buckle up,
I love
everyone.
it. I love it when he tells this one.
I love this bit. You wait for the chorus.
Exactly.
Yeah, uh, there's something about when I think about us connecting with other humans in an environment where you're talking to multiple people at once, is that it's amazing how in tune we get with where the sound comes from, and how much you actually have. You know, you have a group of 5 people, how much they talk over each other, and it can work totally fine. And multiple conversations can kind of spin up and things like that. It'd be interesting to play around with that in an immersive sort of sound environment. It was really apparent to me when I spent some time with a blind Olympian runner, and so he would run with a tethered. He was tethered to a sighted person, and we were standing in a group and we were talking to him. He's 100% blind, and someone said something, and then someone just kind of took a little breath in at the start of when they were about to speak, and he kind of faced them directly and said, "Oh, did you want to say something?" And it was really amazing. And they were kind of like, "Oh," like it was like he saw straight through them, and it was like, "You knew that I wanted to say something." And it was those little things that our senses do when we're in an environment like that. It'd be very interesting because we use that in Zoom. I think we often are looking at people. I do on the panel sometimes where they go to say something, or it's like there's some sort of motion that happens visually to say that they're wanting to say something. But having that in an audio sense as well. Chris,
I've done it.
did
I've
you want
done
to
it
say something?
countless times where I've commented on something and then somebody says something, ridiculous, and I want to chime in, and I just do just a little like, and Alex notices it, and he goes, "Fenwick, do you have something you want to add?" Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. And it's because of the repetition, the iteration, the practice. It's interesting. The panel has, like you say, has gotten quite good at interacting. And however, most of the show is not interaction. It's next, next, next. And I got to say, the first time we used Mukana, and I raised my hand, and then I saw that you cued me. And then I'm listening to, Grant or whatever, the last speaker. And, you could tell when somebody's wrapping up unless you're a complete dolt. And I reached over and I unmuted my mic, and I went, like, literally in my head, I just went, "Oh, wow.
Yeah. I get this now.
This is amazing." And yet we are good at, we forget how much delay there is in Zoom because we're very good at having civilized conversations. And when you go someplace else, when you're not with people that have this much experience talking in a group, you realize, everybody's talking over everybody.
Well, and I think that the issue is that we are good at it. We've known each other for a long time. I think that one of the challenges when you're creating when you're doing a show format is building. I've talked about this before, but building something, looking for precision that's beyond the accuracy, or looking for accuracy that's beyond the precision that you have. And and what I mean by that, and you have to be very careful, is people do it all the time. They want to do more than what the system is designed to do, right? And they want it to be more precise than it actually is. And the challenge is the reason that the format with Mukana works. It doesn't, in a perfect world, like Starbucks is not the best coffee. It's just reliable. Like if you go to a Starbucks, it's always going to taste the same, and it's going to be better than much of the coffee that's out there. And so, but if I go to a really, really nice place, it might be better. Sometimes it's worse. But a lot of times it'll be better because they're putting a lot more care into it, but then that person has a lot of training and they have to do all these other things. And the issue is that when we say anybody can come into the panel, it's really easy for a panelist, if we don't create the structure, to take over. Like they're just kind of stepping on, and we had that in earlier days when it was live, just kind of opened. and they're not doing it on purpose. They just aren't conscious to how much time they're taking and who else is trying to talk, and they're not thinking about all of those things. And so inside of, we don't know who's going to be there, and not everybody's been trained as for air. The structure provides something that makes it easy to know who goes next. And when you have a large panel, I don't know any panel at any quality level of knowledge or skill set or whatever. Once you get over 6 people, it's kind of chaos, all the time, and no one knows when to talk. And so either no one talks or everyone talks. There's lots of these things where like 3 or 4 people come on, jump on top of it. And so without a directive, and when you watch a show like This Week with George Stephanopoulos or whatever, they're throwing to every person for a reason, because that's what makes the show listenable.
And I also want to say that I understand how absurd it sounds that I say we've gotten really good at talking to each other, but there is a skill behind it, given the technology.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and for me, on the other side of the globe, on the underside of the globe, I feel like there's an extra couple of 100 milliseconds probably that I'm experiencing.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that why you don't get my jokes? Makes a lot of sense now.
It's one of the reasons.
There's many other reasons.
Well, and one of the things that Vic Hernandez says in the chat is David Paskin manages a very natural flow to the discussion on the rundown, and that's true. And it's also a much smaller panel. Like, this is a small panel, so we don't need to do it because we know each other and it's small. It's when we get to a larger panel that it becomes, once you get over 6 people, it starts to get really hectic. But you want more than that, especially in a general, like the audio discussion on Wednesdays, I don't think needs to be more than 6 experts, 6 audio experts, or 4 audio experts and a reader and a host. I think 6 is enough for that. And you could probably have a much more fluid conversation between those folks for the audio section. But on Fridays with 12 people, there's no other way to do this, in my opinion, in a fluid way.
Yeah, agreed. I've loved some of those times where there's 12, maybe 16 panelists, and you're just like, I'm excited about where these questions are going, because then these people pop up. They haven't said anything for 10, 20 minutes, and then they pop up with an incredible answer because that's their area.
And it gives someone who's not necessarily an extrovert the ability to just say, I have something to say, and they don't have to figure out how they're going to route themselves into how they're going to push themselves into the conversation. There's a space for them. They can create the space. And it also allows the host to manage time and manage, like, okay, we've answered that question. Like, you'll see people's hands come back up again. And as a host, sometimes I don't move them up because I'm like, we answered it. Like, the viewers don't need to hear us talk about it any longer. Let's move to the next thing.
Right. Speaking of Mukana and how we've made all this work, Chris, there's a question there about Mukana. Can you read that out? Is there?
Oh, yeah. It says, this is from Andre Dole in Berlin. Alex, how will Mukana be handled in the future? Who will be in charge if one possibly wants to use it for an event?
Still working on my replacement for that. So it might be another week or two, but we are talking to some folks about replacing me as the point person to talk to about new events. But it's going to continue to run for office hours without it might not change as fast. Right now the commercial version of Mukana is actually getting really busy because of a bunch of stuff that's coming up this year. So there's a bunch of things that it's working on, that Chris is working on, that might take some time. So Mukana won't change very much right now, but it's not going anywhere.
Cool. All right. So I want to talk about video now, but I'm going to keep you to 2D video, Alex.
2D.
So yesterday.
It's funny. I've been doing all this research in the theaters, for Arena 1, and almost all my research right now is around 3D. So I'm used to looking at all the footage in 3D all the time. And then I saw it on 2D like last week, and I was like, oh, like, right. That's 99% of people watching this is going to be on that. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, so what do you think have been the things in 2D video, that have kind of over these last couple, few years, and then where do you think that is still going. There's obviously still room for that to move. That's not 3D necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the trends obviously that I'm paying attention to are, number one is the streamers, and I think that the big race for the prize is over. Like, or it's not over yet, but it's one of those things where it's one of the things when you watch the track, there's a handful of people out like this, and the people that are out in the front, and then there's a whole bunch of people back here, like in the race, and there's a big gap between the two. And right now I would say that this is Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Disney. Those are the big four. And then YouTube is like out here. Like, there's four here that are kind of close to YouTube as far as, but if you look at the hours that people spend on YouTube, it's starting to pull away. But it's in the lead. But then the next big one is the Netflix, and the Apple and Amazon don't need to make any money. Netflix and Disney have scale. And then you have all these other streamers that will eventually be absorbed by one of those four. Like, I don't think Apple will probably absorb anybody because they have a very different model. So I don't think they're going to absorb any. They have a way that they like to do things. I don't think they're interested in somebody else's way of doing those things. Apple tends to be that way. And so I think they'll keep on doing that. And then YouTube isn't going to absorb. I don't think it's going to absorb anybody because they have their own way of doing things, which is completely different than Apple's. But the problem is that for everybody is that this is Apple and this is YouTube, and these doors keep getting pushed together. So the four that are left, or everybody else, is all packed, and they're just getting squeezed between a margin distorting, or a income or a revenue distorting spend, which is what Apple's doing, and then all these folks that are doing something for $250,000 a year. The problem is that's just a brutal place to be. So I think that this is going to be really hard. I think only the big ones will survive, and they'll just eat up everybody else. But I also think that's why Paramount is spending so much work on trying to get a hold of Warner Brothers. If Netflix, my prediction is that if Netflix buys Warner Brothers, they'll buy Paramount 5 years from now for half the value that it's at right now. Like, it's just not going to be worth anything. And that's why Ellison is getting Dad to give him lots of money, getting everybody, getting the Saudis to give him lots of, like, how do we make this work? Because he knows that it's an existential problem for him. So anyway, so that's but I think all the streamers are going to get squeezed into those four, or go under, but they're not going to, get picked up for pieces. But I think they've all lost, like other than those big four. And then, I think that I spend a lot of time obviously in theaters. And so I spend a lot of time watching theaters, and it's clear that people are willing to go to theaters because all you have to do is look at Avatar. Like, so many people went to the theater, and paid for it. It's just that they're not willing to go for what's being put out there. You were going to say something, Chris.
I actually went to a theater on Christmas Day. I haven't been to a theater in a long, long time.
What did you go see, Chris?
Wow.
We saw, my wife and I went and saw Song Sung Blue.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I don't know if you know this, it's a true story about a couple that had a Neil Diamond tribute band.
I saw
and I gotta say, it was fantastic. It was really good. Yeah. I normally don't like the theater, and my wife was like, "Really? You'll go with me? Fine, let's go." And we jumped up and went and saw it before we went and saw the grandkids. But it was a great movie.
Now,
really
the question is, did you see that and go, "Oh, I really needed to see it in the theater"?
No. It wasn't about that. It was about the event of getting the big giant popcorn and sitting there with my wife in a crowded theater. Actually, it wasn't crowded, but because of assigned seating, there was this lady literally sitting shoulder to shoulder with me. And there was probably 100 empty seats in the room.
Right.
And she wouldn't even share my popcorn with me. Like, I was really kind of offended. I was like, "Hey, I have a lot of this. Do you want some?" She goes, "No, I think I'm good." And I'm like,
"No."
Are you sure? Did you go, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you
Whatever.
Sure? Yeah, exactly. So I think that, I think people want things to go to that aren't super expensive, that they can go and have fun and be around other people. I'm not sure that theatrical is where people are going to go regularly.
And to be clear, this wasn't a fancy theater. This wasn't a loungy, put up your feet and have them deliver you a beer and a hamburger kind of. It was like you know, like in college days, we would have called it, you know, the dollar movies,
Right.
you know, but it was a fun story. And we didn't know like almost anything about it except Neil Diamond. And then it turns out it's not Neil Diamond, it's some guy. Because I kept looking at what's his name,
He doesn't look like Neil Diamond
Jackman.
at all.
He doesn't look like Neil Diamond at all. And yeah, exactly. I was like, but it was, you know, a struggling musician trying to find his next gimmick, and this girl that he's fancy says, you know, you could pull off Neil Diamond. Why don't you do a Neil Diamond tribute band? And they become Thunder and Lightning. The Neil Diamond Experience or something. And it's great story.
I feel like you're doing a content recommendation right now.
I'm trying to check some things off. I'm also about to sign off.
He's gonna
the multiple in.
There's gonna be a recommendation every 20 minutes, you know. So but I think that, you know, obviously I'm really interested in doing concerts to theaters, which is what I'm working on. And I think that finding other ways to use theatrical is going to be something we see a lot more of in the next couple years. Is that not just us, but I think other people are all looking at live to theaters, and that just technology wasn't there. You know, Fathom has done it, but Fathom has been absorbed by DC-DC, and DC-DC is, you know, distributing it straight to the theaters. But it's so I think that there's more live happening, and I think you'll see more and more of that, because live actually makes way more sense for a theater than theatrical, in my opinion, because whether it's sports or concerts or Q&As or whatever they're doing, the issue is that when I go to a theater, I don't want to hear anybody. Like, people are like, I want to feel the energy of the crowd. I don't want to feel the energy of the crowd. I want everyone to shut up, and just watch the movie. I don't want to hear popcorn. I don't want to hear people open their Twizzlers. I don't want to hear anything other than, you know, like when I go to, you know, I had the opportunity to see a couple theaters, go to some pretty nice theaters in the last couple months, and you know, nobody there takes food into the theater. like there's food, there's a bunch of food before the theater, and then you go in and there's no food, and they kind of, if you leave, they kind of expect you see Chris, it doesn't bother me. Oh, there you got the little Twizzlers there.
It's not Twizzlers. What I was going to say is, and I don't want to sit next to somebody that thinks Twizzler is an acceptable snack food. It's red vines or nothing else.
Well, Twizzlers and red vines are the same to me.
You can leave.
All right.
It's red gelatin.
So what about frame rate, Alex?
I am a big fan of high frame rate. I will not lie. I think 24 frames a second makes sense for film. I don't think it makes sense anywhere else. like I think it's this vestige of this classic film thing, but I don't think that. I think that after that we should move on. And you know, everybody else has moved on to 30 or 60, and like if you do something to Facebook or YouTube, it's 30 or 60. Those are your two choices. Yeah.
And to be clear, when you say it's okay for film, you don't mean a cinema experience. You mean celluloid.
No. For a cinema experience, if someone's doing a cinema experience, I just think that, like, when people are doing a TV experience in 24 frames a second, I'm like, okay, guys, like let's just do the thing at a frame rate that, you know, that is more. And I do think that low frame rate, and for me, anything under 60 frames a second is low frame rate. So low frame rate is fine for this kind of like, oh, we're in this kind of dream state and we're having this thing and it's got lots of motion blur and everything else. But like, for instance, 3D, which I spend a lot of time working on, doesn't work at 24. I don't care what anyone says. It just doesn't work, you know. And if people go to Avatar, they see, oh, it works for some of the movie when they're doing 48. It kind of works. It works better than 24. And then it goes to 24 and it looks really, they're like, oh, it looks really jagged. Yeah, because 24 always looked jagged. You just didn't get to watch it next to 48 all the time, you know? And so I think that, especially when it comes to live, we need to keep going up the frame rate ladder. You know, our eyes, actually, it was funny. I was doing a lot of research on this. Our eyes don't have a frame rate. You know, it can be low frame rate, but it can also be very high frame rate.
Variable frame rate?
Because it's variable frame rate. Is
that in the spec?
It's looking at arc angles. So what your eye pays attention to is how much something covers a certain distance. And so it's how it perceives it. So it can be up to 10. When people say, oh, the eye is 60 frames a second or 120 frames a second, it's up to 10,000 frames a second that it's seeing something going across. It can perceive that because it's about distance or angle to the eye, not the frames, so, but what we do notice is that people can feel the difference. And, if you talk to gamers, they all can tell you that, they want 240 frames for everything because they can feel it and it affects their ability to play. And so I think 240, the ROI on 240 is pretty low, but I think that for movies, what I really want is a projection system that gives me, I think the high watermark there is 4K, 120 frames per second per eye is as high as you need to go. It's not that it's high as you could go, but I think that's as high as you need to go. And that's probably 2 projectors doing 4K 120. And there are projectors out there that do it. I've never seen one in a theater. They use them in military and science are the two places that use this high frame
Let me
rate.
ask you a question, just hypothetically. Take a movie like you've seen the first John Wick movie.
Yeah, that's the only one I've seen the whole thing.
Ideal frame rate to watch that movie. Go.
I have to admit that I would love to see it. I'd love to see it in a high frame rate. I'd love to see it at 120 frames a second, but I don't think it would work. So I would love to see that. I think the 24 might make sense. Here's the problem with high frame rate. You can't do everything that we're doing with cameras with high frame rate because 30% of the audience will throw up. So that's why I think it leans itself more towards live where you're not moving as much, and potentially like the stuff that we're working on for Arena 1 is one camera. So everything's happening in front of you. What we found is that you can't really move the camera a lot at 120 because somewhere between 92 and 96 frames a second, your lower brain stops thinking about it as video and starts thinking about it as a window. And because of that, it starts to check it against your inner ear. and so what happens is some people are sensitive enough to that. They have high performing, inner ears that will make them, react very quickly to once you get over 96 frames a second. So we're kind of on our way there, probably probably some immersive cameras and other cameras that eventually get to 120 at least. I mean, the Bread can do it right now. They can do much higher frame rates with the fiber back. So hopefully we'll see that happening.
I'll just say it again, and Alex and I have had this discussion. I'm probably at the exact opposite end of the spectrum of what I want to see, because I like the fact that, like, I wouldn't want John Wick to feel more real. It's gory enough. I don't want to be in the room with all those people are dying. So I like the fact that it has a
film look.
It's not real. I don't want it to be real. I want it to be something I watch but not experience.
I worked on tests about 10 years ago, and we found that the things that worked really, really well at high frame rate were sports, live events like concerts and stuff like that, and horror. And it was but it was too much. Like for me, it was too much. Like I was like, I can't. But horror, they only made, because it was a test, it was like a 2-minute horror segment. And it was just because it just looks like it's, this is on LED, high dynamic range.
It was a 60 or 120?
120.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was looking like it's like looking at a window. And I do think that people would get addicted to that for that genre. But I think that there's some people who love horror. I will admit, I don't watch horror at 24. I don't watch horror ever. There's certain things I don't like. To me, that's not fun. So I don't watch horror. I will sometimes watch thrillers.
I couldn't watch ER, the TV show, on a regular basis.
I just like The Open. The Open was good.
Yeah.
In the 90s, it's my favorite open.
So this is a practical question to you then, Alex, is that I'm giving you two options. You can do a 1080, and let's say it's a video. It's kind of like talking head, bit of movement, like that type of stuff. 1080 60, or you can do 4K at 30.
Oh, I do 1080 60 over every day.
And has that changed for you?
No, No, because I'm right now on some of the projects I'm working on, I'm choosing 1080p 60 over 4K 30. So I'm making that choice for everybody. So yeah, so no, I think that, well, especially with live. So, if we talk about film, then maybe down to 24, and just go ahead and stick with the 24. I do think 30 is kind of a weird frame right now. It's kind of like not quite 24, not quite 60, obviously. And so I think that 30 is a kind of a weird format at this point, but I think that going up to, and sometimes it's just practical because that's what the hardware can do. Like not all the hardware can do 60, or not all the hardware can do, like the Blackmagic 6Ks, the original ones, the G1s can't get to, they can go 1080p 50, and you can tell because they made it in Australia. So they're like, well, that's good enough. They didn't bother to get to the 60. That's going to be harder. Let's not do that. So,
all right. So now let's say 3D. We talked about 2D video. We touched a little bit on 3D, but the world of 3D video, some of the things you've observed, and then where you think it's going.
I think that the test that we're doing right now with 3D that we're doing for Arena 1, pretty excited about. It's 1080p 60. I'd love to see it be 4K 60, but the projectors don't do that yet. So, and I think that, but I didn't realize how much of a jump all the tests were. Once you got to 60 frames a second, 3D just works so much better. Like it's just so much better. And the 48's fine that Avatar's doing, but 60 is where it starts to get real. Like it starts to really for live. And again, Avatar's a film, so it's fine. But I'm saying for live, it just feels really good. And then the other thing that we're doing is it's purely optical. So we're working with Radiant Technologies, Radiant Images, and they're really the last folks that are out there doing independent 3D, and they're also doing Gaussian and splat stuff with iPhones, which is amazing. But their optical 3D, when you do optical 3D at 60 frames a second, it's just really compelling because and you get a good projection of it, and it looks really, really good. And I don't know. I constantly want to tell people like, hey, you should come see what I'm working on in the theaters. I'm just like, you should come check this out because it's something else, And so,
well, and it's also the delivery, right? Like that it's actually quite an accessible way of delivering it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and then you have to think about, it changes the way you think because we think in rule of thirds, when we're thinking about, but in 3D, you think about that in depth, right? So you want things in the foreground thirds, the background thirds, you want your subject in the center of those thirds. You don't put the subject in the foreground or background, but you want to put them in the middle, but you need things in front of them and things behind them to create the space. So if you have them in front of nothing, then in 3D doesn't help you. But if you have them in front of, so you actually kind of want a busier scene than what you would normally want to basically to describe the space or give you.
We call that a dirty frame.
Yeah. But it's not here's the funny thing is, it's kind of a dirty frame, but if it's going off the frame, you want things that are, so when you think about the frame, you want an object in the foreground, but you want to see its feet or whatever. You don't want it to be coming from, a typical dirty frame would be like, it's half in, half out. And we call this a frame violation. It means that it's cutting. And the reason for that is that I can no longer have the experience of 3D because it got to a 2D edge. So when it's on a 2D edge, it becomes what we call a frame violation. You try to minimize frame violations because they take you out of it. And so you kind of have to be careful of where those occur.
And I just want to, in the form of a disclosure to the audience, say that if you've been listening to Alex for the last couple of minutes and you realize I don't understand most of what he's saying, it's okay. You're in good company. I don't understand most of what the guy talks about either, but I just like to sit here and nod. Oh, great.
So anyway,
I was thinking about, where would the Twizzler go? The Twizzler needs to not be half off the frame, needs to be right there in the middle of there we go. Right.
But bring the hand up a little bit. Bring
a little parallax.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
That would look great. Especially if you pointed it towards us a little bit. There you go. It would be like, whoa.
It's a red line.
It's
not a Twizzler.
Lightsaber Twizzler. Very good. All right. Yes. So video. There's a couple of other things that, like lighting, we haven't dedicated shows to, but we're often talking about lighting. What are the things you've seen in the lighting world
Hire
and
professional.
we-
It looks so
Ooh.
much better. Like, I would say that, the big thing is that when in doubt, so if you want great lighting, you get someone like there was this moment a couple years ago where we were doing this stage, we were designing a stage with lighting, and my brother, who comes from lighting for film, and Tlaloc, who lights for stage, there was a conversation between the two of them to figure out what kind of lighting we were going to put on the stage. That was a great conversation.
Should have been recorded. Yeah.
Because Joe knows all these like film appliances and apparatus, and Tlaloc knows all the stage apparatus, and between the two of them going back and forth, I was like, oh, we should have recorded. We needed to record. It was so good. And there was like oh yeah, pretty good. Yeah, like it was the two of them going back and forth, and trading notes was really good. So, when you have someone that's really good, I would say that the lighting is you get someone that's going to do great lighting. When in doubt, big light sources that are as close as you can make them. Like that's like, if you don't know better, that's the big thing. The biggest mistake people make is getting little like 6-inch or 1 foot panels. I got like a 3x5 foot one in front of me, and it's just go big, and it won't look horrible. Like, and the big thing is that, so go big and close, or hire somebody who knows what they're doing, or study a lot and experiment with it a lot. But know that the chances of you doing something that no one notices and just thinks you look good, big and close, everyone will just go, oh, that looks pretty good, except for the film people who are used to it looking a certain way. But if you want to look like broadcast, just big and close is enough. And then you start getting professionals coming in or spending a lot of time working on it. I think we have some more questions, though. I don't want to leave people out, because we don't do questions in the morning, so I'm more conscious of the questions during the.
I know. I did think that too, and there was a couple.
And I've got
there
time,
that
by the way. I
like,
know that usually
wanna
I'm cutting
get through.
off, but I told my family this is my last one, so I might run a little long.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do a question now, Chris.
Jonathan Michelson says, please validate my setup. Now, bear with me. Listen carefully. For remote control of an iPhone 15 Pro that will record internally in 4K 60 using Blackmagic Camera App, but the clean feed HDMI into an Elgato capture card at 1080 60 and be PTZ controlled via the Belkin Dockkit Stand, which I had to look up. It's kind of cool. It's a little PTZ thing that you can MagSafe your phone to. So I don't know. I don't understand the question.
I've never even heard of the Belkin Dockkit Stand.
Oh, well, let me show it to you. I have a picture of it somewhere.
Show it to us, Chris.
I think
that's
here the one that Guy has.
It's this guy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I think it's a little PTZer that does stuff. I don't know.
That's pretty cool. There's been a couple of these that have done this kind of auto tracking thing.
See, look at this. It says move freely while on FaceTime or creating content. I don't. That just seems like magic.
Yeah, I think that, I guess the question is, will the app work when you're in it via SmartPTZ app? The question is, the SmartPTZ app, is that going to work separately
from the Blackmagic app that's doing the internal 4K record?
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you, I bought one of those, those little monitors that you glue on the back of your phone so you have a whatever. And I was really disappointed because, and this is like a standard tech disappointment. You have an idea of what you think I should be able to do.
Right.
And you're just, more often than not, you're disappointed. It's like, well, I can't do both of those things at once because, reasons. And I think that this is quite possibly, Jonathan, one of those things. Like, will the Belkin thing work with the Blackmagic app? And I didn't read this stuff, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's your first question. But to be able to do all three of those at the same time would be pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to how it's controlling it. Yeah,
I think the record would have to happen through the SmartPTZ app.
Because I don't think it has its own camera. Like if you gave it its own camera so that it's got a third party or a second camera where it's tracking you and making all the decisions, that'd be another thing. But the problem is if you're using the Blackmagic app, I don't know whether it'll, it won't be able to see it, so it won't be able to do the auto tracking, I think.
Yeah, my guess is like that. It is it's probably choosing between the thing that you want versus the thing that you have. In that, you're probably not going out and buying. I'm guessing you're not going out to buy an iPhone specifically for this. If you were, you may find that a PTZ camera that can do all of this might be a better choice. Even though I know the iPhone result record would be great, it depends how much the movement is really key to you,
So
or whether that's just a convenient thing.
here's a question. There's any number of little gimbal guys, even phone gimbals, that will PTZ and track and follow you. Does that have to use a specific camera app to do that?
Yeah, usually there's.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the problem is that now if you decide you want
be a
to,
separate device, maybe.
yeah, all the ones that I've seen, they're using the device that they're to track it. I mean, there are some that are, some of the Ronin stuff will have a second sensor that's outside of that's being used as a tracker. So some of the Ronin features or the autofocus and some of the tracking stuff that it has is using another camera or another sensor, but this one doesn't. It still looks like it has to. I mean, I'm looking at their video and it's kind of hard to tell. They're not super clear about it, so I don't know for sure. But yeah.
Here's what we do know about. No, I don't even know that. I can't even find a price on the thing. I'm sure it's there. It's like 300. Oh, wow. It's cheap. Auto tracking with Dockkit for iPhone. $125.
Yeah, it's not very expensive.
No.
Which means it can't work good.
I will say that if a third camera or another system could control the PTZ and you had this and the tracking was strong enough to let you, connect a cable to it and do all the other things. Yeah. It's really interesting as like a multi-camera shoot that you could, do some stuff with.
That's a really good point. Just the weight of a HDMI cable tagged onto this thing would probably kill the thing.
Good one.
Oh, yeah.
I did that for you.
All right.
So you wouldn't get
Thank
lost.
You. Next question.
Let's see. I got to find that screen. Zach Stallsmith, Chautauqua. I want to go to Chautauqua one day. I've been put on a short list of folks who will do in-person and remote camera work for the NFL. Go Bills. Does anyone have experience working in NFL stadiums?
Alex, both of you?
Yeah, both of us maybe. I've done a little bit of production in NFL stadiums. I was in A2 for a Green Bay game, which is very cold. In case you're wondering, it was like in about this time of year in Green Bay, which was frigid. And so what I will say is that it depends on the stadium. I've worked in AT&T Park, Heinz Field, which is now Accenture, the Packers Stadium, a couple other, some other arenas. The main thing is there's a wide range of technology. So you have to figure out, number one is if you're working on an NFL game, if you're trying to do any wireless, there is a wireless coordinator somewhere and you need to talk to them. They're not going to take it. They get a little, especially if you're doing something official, they're going to want to know that what frequencies you're using. Now, if you're using a little 2.4 or 5, they're not going to know. They're not going to care.
Good luck. Yeah, and good luck getting it to work.
It won't work, but they're not going to care about you. But if you are using any kind of real wavelength, they're going to want to know that you're there, especially if you're being brought in to work on it. They have some expectations. So think about that. I'm not sure whether you're doing it directly. If you're doing remote camera work directly for the NFL, my guess is if you're on a short, I haven't worked with you, so I don't know, unless you have a lot of camera operator work, it's probably going to be especially the first time you go, you're going to be on some kind of extra, like picking people up running by or doing some, usually the camera operators that are running the
You'll be
shoulder mounts for
you'll
the
be
interviews.
camera 51 on the pregame show. And I know because I've done that.
Yeah. So Chris can tell you what that's like.
And actually, I didn't run the camera. I pulled the cable for camera 51 on the pregame show.
Yeah. So I think that usually it takes a while to work your way up. The folks that run the cameras that are on the main broadcast have been doing it for usually 5 or 10 years. And they started exactly where you started, but it takes some time to get through there. And, it takes a lot of people deciding they don't want to do this anymore. We're getting sick often enough because the live NFL teams are some of the best camera operators in the world. Like they are if you look at, just think about, when I watch football games, I just think about the shot like that I'm looking at. And I just go, oh my gosh, that person is 200 feet away and they're following someone, this little dot that's going along there, perfectly smooth, well framed, while they're running, changing, and juking and jiving and everything else. It's incredible. It's incredible. And so I think that if you're getting started, just know that you'll probably be on the cold end of something that isn't seen very much, to manage your expectations, and it won't pay well. but man, I was a A2. It cost me more money than I made, by a lot to do the job, because I just wanted to do it. Like I had a friend that was the A1 for, it wasn't the A1 for the show even, it was the A1 who managed the wireless mics for when you hear them go blue 44, there are 2 sets of mics on the guards. So the two starting guards have mics on them, and it's actually just one mic per guard, and typically that's it. And they're using Zax. Well, back then they were using Zaxcom and they have these little rubbery, neoprene that you put the mics down into, and you find a gap so that they couldn't feel it, or you wouldn't know that it was on there, and tiny little transmitters, and all our job was my job was to run memory cards and and get coffee. Matt's job was to make sure that the broadcast doesn't get anything other than, right, you only get the blue 45 when you hear it, and they don't leave the mics open. His only job is to make sure the wireless works. So the wireless has to work and stay up, and cut the mics every time. We heard the mics every time between plays, but it can't go back. It's to protect broadcast from accidentally doing something. What's funny is you think that you're going to hear all this incredible stuff. You don't. There's almost nothing. I was amazed by the fact that they switch to the next play. Like if they run back and you think they're going to complain about the call or something or other, and there's so little time that they immediately reset to do the next thing. They talk a lot during timeouts. Timeouts, there's a lot of jawing going on in timeouts, but outside of that, they're pretty focused. It was a really fascinating experience.
I will say this, Zach, if you get the chance to do it, I know you're saying you're on the enjoy every moment of it.
Yeah.
Because it is the best of television, and to work with the NFL is just spectacular.
Yeah.
It is absolutely the best iteration of television, especially live television, that you can be a part of.
And I would drop everything to go work on another game. I mean, I couldn't do it all the time, couldn't afford to, but I would love to do a game or two a year, just because it's just, you're working with the best at every level. There's so much money going, so much money, and it's spared no expense. And, there's like usually 10 cameras, 5 to 10 cameras on the field that no one's ever going to see. That's just testing. Like they'll test it for years, like those pylon cameras, those were there for 4 or 5 years before anyone saw them. Like because they weren't right. It's not good enough. Oh, it's not good enough. Oh, it's not good enough. And they just kept on making them better. But they hide them in game. There's little things that they're testing, ideas that they're testing, that you don't see for a long time. And the NFL is they're constantly trying to figure out surprise and delight moments. Like, how do we make it a little better? Like the short depth of field on either end of the camera, at either end of the field, they've got a short depth of field. There was one in the game the other day that I saw, and there's some giant camera rig at one of the goal lines, or near one of the goal lines. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like, it was like a huge rig of like multiple cameras. And I was like, somebody's trying to figure something out. So I didn't know what it was.
The NFL game that I worked on, I was literally pulling cable for a handheld camera. We had the first shot of the broadcast, which was pregame show. Actually, second shot. The first shot was a helicopter shot. Then we had a handheld shot of the helicopter and then tilt down to the outside of the stadium. And then as soon as our tally went off, I had to unplug the this is 100 years ago, unplug the triax from the guy's belt pack. And then we had to sprint to the tunnel where the team was coming out, like charging through and breaking through the paper kind of thing. I don't think they really had paper, but that was like our next shot. And we had a hard time making it in rehearsal before the stadium was full of fans. So now game day, the place is full of fans. It was utter chaos. And it's a great story. And if anybody comes into after hours tomorrow morning and asks the details, I'll tell the story. It's very funny.
The last thing I'll say, and Zach, I'm sure that you already know this, but for anyone listening, when you get invited to something like that, it's a couple things. One is be on time. And when I say be on time, be early. Like there is no traffic. There is no trouble with anything. There is no couldn't find your parking. If you are close to being late, if you're there 5 minutes before, they'll consider you late. And so like when I did it, I got there, my hotel was 10 minutes away and I got there an hour and a half early. Like I was there wandering around. I was at a little coffee shop that was nearby. So I was like there. I figured out where I got my tag and I figured out where I had to go. And I walked through the whole thing and I still had like 40 minutes to just hang out and have a coffee. And then I wandered up, 15 minutes early. Don't get too early because they don't know what to do with you, but be on time. And when I say that, be really early. But don't be so early that you're a problem. Like they don't know, they don't have anywhere to go. Second thing is don't talk a lot. Like that's the number one. Like if someone says, oh, that person's a talker, that's it. You're not, especially when you get started, you are not, don't be a talker. Like just do the thing that needs to be done. Definitely. If you're talking, don't talk about stuff other than work. Like,
I was going to say, especially off topic.
Oh my gosh. That is just like death. Like, it's just like you just, and the problem is you're trying to like, as a producer or other people on the team, they don't want to sour the situation. So they don't want to sit there and try to correct you, but you'll see them try to change the subject while you're talking. They'll just jump in and say something, or you'll finish something and they'll say something completely different. That's your cue that you were talking too much. We're talking about the wrong thing. So really focus on that. Try to make sure you're really listening to what the person's telling you to do and do exactly the way they ask you to do it. And then, come and always, if you don't have something to do, always come back and go, that's done. Is there anything else you need? Make sure it's complete. Don't get things done quickly. It's smooth as fast and fast as smooth. It's just, you just want to go nice and slow and make it go. But be focused, get those things done. People like that are rare. And if you show that you can do those, they'll keep calling you, and it'll still be these low end. So, they won't be, you're not going to be the TD anytime soon, but they'll be running cables or doing the outside camera. But eventually what happens is that somebody doesn't show up, or they're sick, or they're retired or whatever. And the whole thing shifts and you're in the right place. And then you shift up with it. And that's how a lot of this happens. No one comes in generally and impresses everyone at the NFL and they decide, oh my gosh, let's move that person to camera, 10. Those guys have been there for a long time. So anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, obviously my experience is not NFL, but it's stadium broadcasting of cricket, sort of world cricket, and also
we've heard
Australian
of it.
Australian rules football. And I mean, the world cricket, when it happens, is huge, and sometimes that's actually like there'll be multiple trucks that'll be doing an Australian broadcast, and then there's the world feed. So the world feed will be doing most of the cameras, and then the Australian one will have a few extra cameras. And so when I was working, I did some shading on a couple of seasons, and it's all those things, Alex, that you're talking about as far as I call it sort of being active on standby, active standby, because so many of these old broadcast guys know that okay, now I can just sit around and do nothing for 2 hours. Whereas you can actually, like, for the CCU operators, for us, yes, you could be sitting down and being on, just sitting around, or you can just be kind of dialing in. You can be sitting in your seat, just doing those last little tweaks and really just getting your head, everything sort of dialed in, ready to start that pre-show.
I will say the funny thing about, we want people to always like be present. I mean, what you're talking about of, and I've had PAs that I never feel like they're staring at me, but if I look over at them, they look at me immediately. Like they just like, like I look over and they look over at me like, okay, what's next? They'll stare at me and I'll just be like, I'll give them one of these. That means come here. Can you go do this? This was one thing, but it's like, then you're just like, I'm going to hire that PA all the time. Like, I just want to have that person because it's so, again. And then the other thing is that people will, when they don't have something to do, they'll immediately go to their phone and start looking at social or texting or following up on their email or doing whatever it is. Everybody notices that, just in case you're wondering. They all see it. Like they don't say, and just because they don't say anything to you doesn't mean they're not noticing that you're doing it. And so, and that you get huge, negative points for that. And then the other thing is that there's this this wanting to do something new with something that you're there. Like in live, so much of it is doing the right thing over and over and over again. I drove someone crazy recently because we were doing a drone shot and I kept on wanting to do the exact same move again and again. And I didn't want anyone to change anything because like, until we do it perfectly 3 or 4 times in a row that I just know it's automatic, I just want to keep doing the same thing. And that's, but live folks get that. And people who don't do a lot of live have a hard time with that because it's, they want to go, let's experiment with something new and do something else. And you're like, let's just make this one work really well. And it's hard to get people to focus on that. And so when you do those things, when you do all of those things, then, and Zach, I'm sure, does all the stuff. This is for people who are, who are listening to those things. But when you do those things, people call you back because it's not everybody.
Yep. Awesome. Next question, Chris.
Let's see. Jonathan again from Buenos Aires says, will the new Zoom 60 frames per second capability be as limited by the less capable receiving participants on a meeting, just like 1080p?
In our environment, it won't matter because the participants are all going to a broadcast. so for us, we're broadcasting out to the, office hours, we broadcasting it. So the 60 frames per second, we don't have a big meeting with everyone looking at it. I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I think everyone will get 1080p 60, which could be problematic I think 1080p 60 is going to be really good for broadcast. I don't know if it's going to be as good for meetings. So we'll see at the beginning. And I don't know and I don't know the answer to whether it gets dumbed down for everybody if it gets down for some.
It'll get dumbed down. I don't know. Pretty sure.
All right. Next question.
Steve Brenneman from Indianapolis wants to know, Alex, will you be able to provide an occasional update on how life is going via the new point person or panelist? And Steve, I'm going to answer that question for you. I've actually been contacted by Alex's new boss, and he has told me he's going to be contacting me with those kind of updates. So yeah, you'll be getting that stuff from me.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So no, I can't make any promises. Like it's, I'm not in what's called a publicly facing position. So, and I'm pretty excited about the job and I don't feel like, screwing it up. So that's what you should know. So I'm going to be pretty careful about what I do. So there you go.
But I'll say this, that, they should give you the, I think, what do I know? I think they should give you the go ahead to be publicly facing. Cause I think I will miss having you as being a voice in this community.
I'm hoping that I get the opportunity to do it again,
You should.
and I think that there's, I mean, the issue that I have really is that there's some stuff that I think needs to get done around 3D that I think only Apple can do. And I don't think anyone else will do it if someone else isn't driving this. And I don't know if I'm the only person that can get it done, but I think I'm probably one of only a few people that have both the interest and energy as well as the experience to push the ideas forward. And that's why I'm doing it. Like if I didn't think that I was going to make a specific difference in that area. And so that'll be a lot of behind the scenes stuff. If it ever becomes something that is in front of people, that's great. But I really feel like it's holding up humanity, to be honest with you. Like our inability to manage 3D more effectively is holding up how fast we learn, how fast we communicate, how fast we understand things around us.
I'm going to just tell you right now, I think the new show that Alex is going to be producing probably within 12 to 24 months is going to be called Apple Hours. And it'll be very much like something you know.
Can't say the thought hasn't crossed my mind.
Next question, Grant. Oh, that's your job. Let's see. Once again, Jonathan from Buenos Aires says, will there ever be a master index for all questions asked in office hours with links to the answers, timecode, and YouTube? Actually, there's a way to do that. There's an app that Jonas showed me. You guys probably know what it is. And it's crazy. You give it the YouTube channel, you type in what you're looking for, and it'll go, oh, yeah, that's this episode at this time code. Here, let me take you there. Click.
It's cool. Yeah.
It's so frightening.
I just want to thank Jonathan for taking on building this giant index. That's what happens here. It's like, has anyone ever done this? No. Thank you for volunteering. So anyway, some people have done, I think that some people have used the API to go through all the transcripts and build a larger, and build an AI that just answers your questions. But I guess I feel like a huge part of the value is not the answers, it's the conversation. Like and I think that that's the problem, is I'm not looking for the answer. I'm looking for, like, to me, the value is people trading notes in the chat and us discussing it, and the contextual conversation that happens around it, I think is at least as valuable as the answer itself. And I haven't really spent a lot of energy on trying to come up with a giant compendium of answers, because I think that the answer is to keep on coming and listening and being part of the conversation.
Yeah, but if you're trying to put together like a highlights reel of Fenwick stuff, you got to be able to search it out.
That's true. That's true.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. A highlights reel of Fenwick stuff is pretty short. It's a pretty short reel.
Whoa. I don't know if you know what you're talking about.
Do you know, I totally agree. I totally agree with Alex. And the thing that I think about is that not only do the answers to the questions change, the questions change, and so we say it's like fish wrap. Fish wrap is like yesterday's fish wrap is what we got fish and chips in. And so, because it used to be newspapers, right? So newspapers, you now wrap the fish in the newspaper, and it's old. It's now just fish wrap. Right. And that's like some of the answers to the questions, is that lots of these things change dramatically. And so what we'd prefer to spend the time in, from my point of view, I would rather spend more time in building the community to make it bigger, to make after hours fuller, so that whenever you have a question, you can go there, or a show's coming up, you can ask those questions. That's better than having access to a bunch of potentially old or incorrect now information. Is having that conversation, because it's what sparks more questions and more creative answers and things. Yeah. And so that's what's amazing.
What's amazing to me. Community. What's amazing to me is the number of times in the last 5 years where I've been talking to people outside of this community, and I'll say to them, oh, I know guys that do that, and they're literally the best in the world at it. I'll get back to you. I'll talk to them and find out.
Yeah,
they're literally the best in the world. I know the guy that invented using breakout rooms as a green room.
No one, and they're like, I've never heard of that. Most people have not ever needed to know that.
Well,
But
I was
you'd also be like, what microphone should we get? Oh, you need to get the Pile headset. That's the one to get.
That
Because
cost you 13 bucks.
well,
if you went back to the archive, that might be the answer you get. It's like that's not what we'd say now.
well, the funny thing is that I was talking to someone about this today actually, and they were talking about the office hours, and I said, well, the secret is, of course, is that I get more out of office hours, or I have gotten more out of office hours over the last 5 years than anybody else, because I have this giant gel of experts all over the world that I'm connected to because I'm on the show all the time. And that's one of the values of being a panelist, and one of the values of being the host and being on all the time is I'm connected to all these people. And then the speed at which I can answer questions is so high. If I have an audio question, I'm asking, Mickey or Brian Maddox. Or if I have a video if I have a Final Cut question, usually Chris gets those. And if I have a
This is unusable.
But if I have like a lighting question, I've got Tlaloc. If I've got and there's and a handful of other people. And the point is that like whatever it is, I don't think people understand especially if you're a panelist and you've been doing it. You do 100 days a year as a panelist, and you'll be connected to everybody. And then there's this giant neural net of real people with thousands of years of experience that you have access to, that is just magical. And I realized how smart I appear to other people in meetings, mostly because it's at my fingertips. Sometimes I'm in the meeting going, hey, what about like in Discord?
Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. I ever done it? I do it all the time.
And then Alex is like, "Oh yeah, I just remembered. I
didn't say I remembered anything else. I said we might want to think about this or this or this or whatever. But like
totally.
And so like I bring it up. I don't take credit for it. I just know it.
All the credit.
I don't take all the credit. I just say it. I just say, have we thought about this? Or we might want to think about this after I've talked to someone else about it. And they're like, oh, it's a really good idea.
100%.
Anyway, it's just, 100%. So it is such a, and I will keep saying that I highly recommend that if you have the experience to give back to people, that you really think about taking advantage of being on these different shows and being part of that, because when you give back to the community that way, and it's not for everybody, it's not if you're beginning, but if you've been doing this for 5 or 10 years and you've done a lot, you have some experience, when you give that back, you're tying yourself into this giant network of people who want to help you when they can. And it's just it's amazing. It's really, really an amazing community to be connected to.
Well, it's gracious of you to say all of that. And I think one of the things that I was thinking today is how many questions you would have answered. And I'm not sure that still to this day that anyone would have answered more questions than you have. And so I know that you feel like you've received tenfold, and that's awesome. But it's just a massive thank you to you, because your knowledge has grown, and then you very quickly turn that back around and you share it with everyone, and then it grows and it grows and it multiplies. And so it's been a pretty epic journey. I think the fact that people kept coming back every day to start with is testament to that. But the fact that 2,000 days later, it's still 2,000 days. Is that right?
More than 2,000, yeah.
Yeah, right. People are still and are prioritizing it, and doing it during their vacation time and whatever. Is continues to be testament to that. And so my commitment to you, as much as I can in my capacity, is to continue on while you're not here. Is to continue on as best we can, and to see it grow, and to see more of what you would hope it to be, to continue to be.
And I hope that, again, whether I'm cleared or whether Apple goes, well, it's enough, like, you gotta go. That I'm hoping that there's this community. The thing that I always, that I've learned over time is that you can, if you have an idea or you learn something, you can write it down or squirrel it away. But if you give it to other people, when you come back to the idea, it's bigger than it was before. So if you give the ideas away, you talk about them on the show, it means that they keep growing without your energy. Like they keep the ideas keep going and everything keeps going. So when you need them, you come back to them and it's like a tree now. Like it was you put out saplings and you come back to trees. And then there's a whole bunch of apples there that you didn't have to figure out. And so there's so many things that I've talked about as an idea. People in the community turned it into a thing, and then I came back and learned from them on how to do that, and then used it for something I was doing, and saved a lot of time. I just hope we keep on, that the community keeps that growing and getting better and bigger.
100%. Well, we said that I'm actually in a library meeting room, and just like Andy and Ocko, I'm going to get kicked out in 5 minutes. I realized.
Someone at the glass window going.
Pretty much, pretty much like that. But do you have a content recommendation, Alex?
I can't. Do you remember what I recommended last week? I don't remember. What did I recommend last week? I can't. Go to Chris first and come back to me.
Yeah. Chris,
someone remember?
You already did one.
Well, yeah, the movie was pretty good. I gotta admit that. I'm not really prepared, but I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance to watch The Road to 1080p, you should check that out.
Yeah, there you go.
It is the best tutorial on keying you will ever come across, bar none.
Nice.
And it was ridiculous at the time. Talk about just ridiculous things. Like,
it was.
Nobody needs 1080p on the internet. This guy's lost his gourd.
I told Alex this. I had a current PowerBook, G4 PowerBook, and I couldn't play it. I couldn't play it. I couldn't play it. I downloaded it and it wouldn't play. It was like shuddering. The computer couldn't play it.
And I even made it 24p because that saved some of the bandwidth. It was 1/6 less than the, we were trying to cut every corner we could figure out how to get it to go up. And, a podcast was like, I remember back then it was like 260 megs or something like that to download when everything else was like 4. It was.
I was delivering video to Apple, and the large files that we were doing were 640 by 360 or 640 by 480. Like that was that's the big one.
But a good example of is the a good example of that is I did that Road to 1080p, and that made me paid off that camera, paid off the whole system, and then some. Probably made it was, I'd have to do the math again, but it was at least $250,000, if not more, from that one video. Because Chris is like, how? Yeah. So
what checkbox did I not click?
Here's the checkbox: is that I was able to distinguish the difference between what I had and what everybody else had, and I was the only one that had it. So I had the only 444 camera in Northern California, and that
so you
video,
made money off the camera rentals after
and production. So Rev 3, Adobe, Salesforce, like all of these, like all of that work. I mean, if you say the work based on that PBS, like all of this work that we did, Panic at, or was it Disco? Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, they made our neighbors really mad because they came and played drums in front of the green screen and for their concert. And so anyway, it was just all of this work that came from the fact that we distinguished. This is we distinguished what it was, and then people wanted to have that, which is the really great green screen. It looked really good, but nobody else could produce it except for us, because we're the only ones with that camera and that system and that resolution and everything else. And so people started coming in, and we started doing all these productions, but we were doing 25 episodes of this and 30 episodes of that and 10 episodes of something else. We got, so we definitely made at least $250,000, probably more like $500,000 from that video. But that's the thing you have to understand, is if you're able to distinguish something, and again, there was no sale in that video. I did not sell anybody anything. Right. I simply just showed what we were doing,
That video made me start telling my clients I don't do green screen anymore. Because
Yeah,
because you should find this guy named Alex Lindsay. He's way better at it than me. I don't do that anymore. I had clients that were so upset. I was like, but I don't, it's not fun.
Go look on it. Well, and again, so it's just, but that's the, anyway, that's the thing. I can't remember what I recommended. I might recommend exactly the same thing because I'm still in the middle of it. So that's why I was trying to avoid that, because I've been present to the same.
The Revolution.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about that because I'm not done with it yet.
Right.
And then the other one that I was going to say, and I don't know whether it was the other thing that I was going to talk about is I don't know if I talked about the F1 behind the scenes. I might have done that at the same thing. I might have been a double recommendation because I'm just working through. I've been watching it. I've watched it a couple times now because it's just, there's so much, content that's all,
Gotta watch the movie first.
Yeah, you should watch the movie first.
Yeah.
I haven't. So I'm into Pluribus. Robert Greene said Pluribus is finished and the BTS videos are out. I want to watch the BTS for Pluribus, but I don't want to watch them before I finish the show. It is really good. It's dark and confusing and weird, and I'm not through it all yet. And so no, I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want anyone else to say anything else because I'm still trying to figure it out. But the, it's really well. I guess what I would say is that there is good content out there. It's just that it's few and far between because everyone's too much in a panic mode and trying to do the same thing and trying not to. And, Avatar and Pluribus, I think, are two examples of, if you give really creative people a lot of room to work. Oh, the other one one more thing.
Hang on. I'll say goodbye because you can wrap it up. So
because I've been doing repeats. If I do repeats, I'm going to say to Begin Again and Sing Street, same director, about musicians. My daughter and I watch those all the time together, and it's just they're two very, especially Sing Street. Sing Street is such a one, and I may have even talked about that one in the past, but it's really good. Check it out. That's it.
Check it out. All right.
Bye.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next week. We're back, extra hours next week, and join us then. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Alex.
Put Alex up on the screen. Illustrate himself out of the. There you go.
Thanks to the gang in the back end: Peter, Alexander, Alan, Robert, Jason, and Zach, making it all happen, and to all the gang in the chat as well. Awesome. Bye bye.